Shocking revelations in Port Charles. Ada Turner's dangerous game with Sonny unravels. The streets of Port Charles have been set ablaze by the most explosive revelation of the season. Ada Justine Turner, the seemingly trustworthy prosecutor who has slowly wormed her way into Sonny Corinthos' inner circle, is not who she claims to be. What began as a cautious friendship between the mob boss and the ambitious attorney has spiraled into a web of deception, betrayal, and heartbreak that threatens to shatter everything Sonny has built. As the truth emerges, questions linger about whether trust can ever be restored and what price will be paid for Turner's calculated revenge. The perfect setup. How Turner gains Sonny's confidence. For months, Ada Justine Turner appeared to be nothing more than a competent prosecutor with her eyes on building her career in Port Charles. But beneath the polished exterior and professional demeanor lay a carefully orchestrated plan to exploit Sonny's greatest weakness, his capacity to trust and his desire for genuine human connection. She became a regular fixture in his world, always finding reasons to interact with him, always showing genuine interest in his perspective on cases, and always managing to be present at moments when he felt vulnerable. What made Turner's approach so insidious was her sophistication and patience. She didn't immediately try to ensnare him through seduction, though. That was part of the arsenal. Instead, she built rapport slowly, appearing to understand him on a deeper level than most people could. She asked the right questions, showed empathy when he spoke about his struggles, and gradually made herself indispensable to his life. You know, Sonny, she had said during one particularly intimate conversation at the Metro Court bar, her eyes reflecting genuine warmth, "People see the mob boss, but I see a man trying to do right by his family. That takes strength." The words were carefully chosen, each syllable calculated to deepen the connection. Carly's growing suspicions, the investigation begins. While Sonny was being pulled deeper into Turner's orbit, Carly Corinthos Spencer watched from the sidelines with mounting alarm. Something about the ADAS behavior didn't sit right with her, the way Turner's eyes lingered on Sonny, the strategic timing of her appearances, the way she always seemed to know exactly what Sonny needed to hear. Carly's instincts, honed by years of navigating the dangerous world of Port Charles, screamed that this woman had an agenda. So, she did what she does best. She began to investigate. Using her extensive network of contacts throughout Port Charles and beyond, Carly quietly dug into Turner's background. What she expected to be a routine check into a newcomer's credentials quickly transformed into something far more sinister. The first breakthrough came when she discovered discrepancies in Justine's official records. While the ADAS law school credentials appeared legitimate on the surface, there were troubling gaps in her personal history. Birth records seemed deliberately obscured, and her childhood years were surprisingly difficult to trace. The more Carly peeled back the layers, the clearer the picture became. Justine Turner was not her real name, or at least not the name she was born with. The truth emerges, Turner's real identity revealed. The moment of revelation came like a thunderbolt. After weeks of digging through sealed records and calling in favors from people Carly preferred not to owe anything to, the answer was finally within reach. Carly confronted Sonny with the evidence she had gathered, her voice steady but laced with the fury of a woman who had watched the man she cared about being systematically manipulated. "Sonny," Carly said, sliding a collection of documents across the table between them, "your Ada friend isn't who she says she is. She's your daughter." The words hung in the air like a physical force. Sonny's face went pale, his hand instinctively reaching for the documents, but stopping short, as if touching them might make the nightmare real. "That's impossible," he whispered, but the shock in his eyes suggested a part of him had suspected something all along. What Carly had uncovered was the carefully hidden truth. Justine Turner was the biological daughter of Sonny and a woman from his distant past, a woman whose name he had deliberately buried, along with the memory of their brief, passionate affair. Turner had been given up for adoption, her origins sealed away from the world. The revenge plot unveiled Turner's vengeful purpose. But the revelation about Turner's paternity was only the beginning. The real shock came when the full extent of her plan was revealed. Turner hadn't sought out Sonny because she wanted to build a relationship with her biological father. She was there to destroy him. Years ago, Sonny had been involved in a situation that resulted in the death of Turner's adoptive father, a man she had loved deeply. Though Sonny's involvement had been indirect and complicated by circumstances beyond his control, Turner had spent years nursing a hatred for the man responsible. When she discovered that her biological father was Sonny Corinthos, she saw an opportunity for the ultimate revenge. "I'm just pretending," Turner had confessed to Molly Lansing Davis during a tense conversation at the PCPD, her voice cold and calculated. "He thinks he has me under his control, but the truth is, I'm the one in control here. Every smile, every moment of vulnerability I've shown him, it's all part of the plan to take him down." Turner's strategy had been multi-layered. She intended to get close enough to gain Sonny's trust, learn his secrets, and then use her position as an ADA to build an airtight case against him. But more than that, she wanted to hurt him to make him feel the same loss and pain that she had experienced. Sonny's shock and Carly's protective fury. The moment Carly laid out the full truth, Sonny's world crumbled. The woman he had been slowly developing feelings for, the one who seemed to genuinely understand him and his world, was his daughter, and she despised him. The complexity of emotions that flooded through him was almost too much to bear: betrayal, shame, confusion, and a desperate longing to understand what he had done to earn such hatred from someone who shared his blood. "I don't understand," Sonny said, his voice breaking slightly. "If she's my daughter, why not come to me? Why all this deception?" "Because she blames you for something in her past," Carly explained, her expression hardened with a quiet, lethal resolve. Turner had not just crossed Sonny, she had crossed Carly, too. Because anyone who manipulates Sonny manipulates the entire foundation of their lives, their children, their history. Carly's fury was a force unto itself. She had gone through too much, fought too hard to protect Sonny and their family, only to watch this woman exploit his vulnerabilities. Every calculated smile, every strategic moment of intimacy between Turner and Sonny was now exposed as a weapon designed to wound him at his core. The fallout, trust shattered in Port Charles. The revelation sent shockwaves through Port Charles. Sonny had to grapple not only with the betrayal, but also with the profound realization that he had a daughter he never knew existed, a daughter whose entire mission was his destruction. The pain of losing the connection he thought he had with Turner was compounded by the guilt of whatever role his actions had played in shaping her hatred for him. The investigation that Turner had been conducting as an Ada took on a new and terrifying dimension. Every case she had pursued against Sonny's associates suddenly seemed less about justice and more about revenge. Her requests for warrants, her questioning of witnesses, her meticulous documentation of evidence, it had all been part of a coordinated plan to dismantle Sonny's operation piece by piece. A family fractured, a trust betrayed. In the end, Turner's plot had accomplished something neither she nor anyone else could have predicted. It had brought Sonny and Carly closer together, united them through shared outrage and a mutual determination to protect their family. But it had also exposed the wounds that Sonny carried from his past wounds that he hadn't even known existed until a woman claiming to be a prosecutor walked into his life with a vendetta written in blood. The question now hanging over Port Charles is whether Sonny and Turner can ever find any path to redemption, or whether her quest for revenge has permanently destroyed any possibility of a father-daughter relationship. And as for Carly, she stands vigilant, determined that no one, not even Sonny's own flesh and blood, will ever exploit his capacity for trust again. The streets of Port Charles have seen many betrayals, but few have struck as deeply as this one. Turner's dangerous game with Sonny has unraveled everything, leaving behind only wreckage and the question of what comes next in a city where trust is the rarest commodity of all. Next, we will learn about the electrifying possibility that has set the General Hospital fan community ablaze with speculation and excitement: the potential return of two beloved characters whose dramatic departure left viewers heartbroken and hopeful in equal measure. The shocking return that started it all. The recent sighting of Sprina on ABC's General Hospital has ignited a firestorm of discussion among devoted fans of the long-running daytime drama. This unexpected appearance, brief though it may have been, has opened the floodgates to one of the most tantalizing questions circulating through Port Charles and beyond. Could both Sprina and Spencer Casadini be making their way back to the canvas? The mere glimpse of has sent shockwaves through social media platforms, with fans dissecting every frame and analyzing every possible clue about what this appearance might mean for the future of these characters whose storylines were cut tragically short under mysterious circumstances. The situation becomes even more intriguing when we consider the complex web of possibilities surrounding their potential returns. While there's substantial evidence suggesting that both and Spencer could feasibly be alive somewhere in the world of classic soap opera trope that has delighted audiences for decades, the reality of their homecoming presents some significant casting challenges that producers will need to navigate carefully. The biggest complication revolves around Nicholas Alexander Chavez, the talented actor who brought Spencer Casadini to life with such depth and nuance that fans fell completely in love with his portrayal. The casting conundrum. Industry insiders and keen-eyed viewers alike have noted that Nicholas Alexander Chavez has moved on to other high-profile projects since his departure from General Hospital, making his return to the role of Spencer increasingly unlikely with each passing month. This creates a fascinating dilemma for the show's writers and producers, who must balance fan expectations with the practical realities of casting availability. If Spencer were to return without Chavez in the role, it would require either a recast, always a risky proposition, with a character as beloved as Spencer, or a creative workaround that explains his continued absence while allowing to re-enter the storyline. The casting situation becomes even more complicated when we consider Kai Taylor, the character who has recently entered Trina Robinson's life and begun building a romantic connection with her. Should Spencer return to Port Charles, regardless of who portrays him, Kai would undoubtedly find himself in an extraordinarily precarious and emotionally fraught position. The young man has been working diligently to win Trina's heart and establish himself as a worthy partner for her. But the shadow of Spencer Casadini, Trina's first great love, would loom large over any potential reunion scenario. Fan reactions and social media frenzy. The General Hospital fanbase, known for their passionate investment in their favorite characters and storylines, has been absolutely electric with enthusiasm since Sm's brief on-screen appearance. Social media platforms have been flooded with theories, hopes, and demands for both characters to make full-fledged returns to the show. Fans have created elaborate scenarios explaining how both and Spencer could have survived their dramatic plunge into the ocean, with some theories more plausible than others, but all driven by the genuine affection viewers hold for these characters. The excitement surrounding Sm's return speaks volumes about the character's impact during her time on the show and the actress's ability to create a complex, multifaceted portrayal that kept audiences guessing. Even viewers who initially struggled with some of Sm's more villainous actions found themselves drawn to her redemption arc and her complicated relationship with Spencer. The chemistry between these two characters was undeniable, creating television magic that fans are desperate to see rekindled on their screens once more. The Port Charles death loophole. Longtime General Hospital viewers have learned an important lesson over the decades. In Port Charles, death is rarely as permanent as it appears to be, particularly when no body has been recovered from the scene of a supposed tragedy. This well-established pattern has given fans plenty of reason to maintain hope for the return of departed characters, and the circumstances surrounding and Spencer's disappearance fit perfectly into this narrative framework. They were reported lost at sea following their dramatic tumble from a luxury yacht, but crucially, their bodies were never found, a detail that soap opera aficionados recognize as the golden ticket for future returns. The lack of recovered bodies isn't just a convenient plot device, it's become something of a tradition in daytime television, allowing writers the flexibility to bring back beloved characters when storylines demand it or when fan pressure becomes too great to ignore. This unwritten rule has been applied time and time again throughout General Hospital's storied history, with numerous characters returning from presumed death to shock and delight audiences. Esme and Spencer's situation is textbook soap opera resurrection material, complete with all the necessary elements for a triumphant return story that could captivate viewers for months. The tragic night everything changed. To fully appreciate the current speculation, we must revisit the heartbreaking events that led to Spencer and Esme's disappearance. Spencer and Trina Robinson, one of General Hospital's most beloved young couples, were finally on the precipice of their happily ever after, a rare and precious moment in the tumultuous world of Port Charles. The young lovers had made plans to relocate to Paris together, ready to embark on a romantic European adventure that would allow them to explore their relationship away from the drama and danger that seemed to constantly swirl around them in their hometown. Their dreams were shattered when Esme, acting on her most villainous impulses and demonstrating the dangerous instability that had defined much of her character arc, managed to board their luxurious yacht without detection. The nefarious plan she had concocted involved administering a lethal drug to Trina, presumably as part of some twisted revenge scheme or misguided attempt to eliminate her romantic rival. The tension on that yacht must have been palpable as Esme made her move, creating a life-or-death situation that would ultimately seal all their fates. In a moment that showcased the heroic nature that had always defined Spencer's character, he made the split-second decision to dive after the dangerous drug in a desperate attempt to save Trina's life. This selfless act of bravery led to the catastrophic moment when both Spencer and Esme tumbled overboard into the dark, churning waters below. The scene was dramatic, emotional, and left viewers absolutely devastated as they watched the characters they had invested so much emotion in disappear beneath the waves. The actress weighs in, adding fuel to the speculation fire. Avery Kristen Pohl, the talented actress who brought Esme Prince to life with such complexity and depth, has publicly shared her belief that her character might still be among the living. Her comments have been music to fans' ears and have only intensified the calls for both characters to return. In a playful yet revealing interview, Pohl offered several imaginative scenarios for where Esme might be currently residing if she did indeed survive her oceanic plunge. Maybe she stayed in France, or perhaps she's in Morocco riding a camel. Pohl joked with a mischievous smile, demonstrating both her humor and her understanding of soap opera storytelling conventions. She went even further with her speculation, painting an intriguing picture that could serve as the basis for an entire storyline. She and Spencer could have ended up on a deserted island, living off the land, and maybe even had a baby, like in the Blue Lagoon. This reference to the classic romance film presents a fascinating possibility. Imagine Spencer and Esme, former adversaries turned reluctant allies, forced to survive together on a remote island, eventually forming an unexpected bond or even starting a family together. The Trina Kai Spencer triangle. The romantic implications of Spencer's potential return cannot be overstated, particularly when we consider how his reappearance would impact Trina Robinson's current situation. Trina has spent considerable time grieving for her lost love, working through the trauma of losing Spencer in such a dramatic and tragic fashion. The healing process has been long and painful, but she has gradually begun to open her heart again, this time to Kai Taylor, a new character who has been patiently and respectfully pursuing a relationship with her. Trina and Kai's developing romance has shown promise, with genuine chemistry and emotional connection building between the two characters. However, even the most devoted Kai supporters would likely admit that the relationship lacks the epic, all-consuming passion that characterized Sprina, the fan-designated couple name for Spencer and Trina. That legendary pairing captured viewers' imaginations in a way that few soap opera couples managed to achieve, creating an indelible mark on General Hospital history. If Spencer were to suddenly reappear in Port Charles, alive and well, the emotional fallout would be seismic. Trina would find herself torn between her first great love, the man she thought she had lost forever, and Kai, who has been there for her during her darkest moments and has proven himself to be kind, supportive, and genuinely invested in her happiness. This classic love triangle setup would provide months of compelling drama, forcing Trina to make an impossible choice between the past she thought was gone forever and the future she's been carefully building. For Kai, the situation would be nothing short of devastating. Through no fault of his own, he would suddenly find himself competing with a ghost made flesh, a rival who holds years of history and deep emotional connection with the woman he loves. The consensus among fans suggests that while they appreciate Kai as a character and recognize his positive qualities, the majority would prefer to see Trina reunited with Spencer if given the choice. This puts Kai in an unenviable position as the potential third wheel in a reunion story that much of the audience is actively rooting for. The stage is set for one of General Hospital's most anticipated potential storylines, with all the elements in place for maximum drama, romance, and emotional impact. Whether these beloved characters actually return remains to be seen, but the fan demand is clear, and in the world of daytime television, viewer passion often influences creative decisions. Only time will tell if Esme and Spencer will find their way back to Port Charles. But one thing is certain, their story is far from over in the hearts and minds of devoted General Hospital fans.